Jay, sounds like they're having some technical difficulties there at Town Hall.
Yeah, I'll scoot over to town hall. Follow up. I'll call you if there's a problem on that end.
I don't know what that gains us, Jay.
Okay,
I mean, I'm remote, so we're gonna have to Zoom anyway.
yeah, okay.
Unless you want to go to the meeting.
Well, and I just thought of it as if they're not communicating with you, it might, actually, you probably should just call Nancy or Don.
No,
direct.
Nancy is communicating with me. They are having a technical difficulty and they're working on it.
Ah, gotcha. Thank you.
You bet.
Okay.
And I see the mayor's head like popping around in there, so he has something to do with it.
All right. Okay. Hey, thank you for while we're just chatting before the meeting is official. I thank you for passing on that suggestion the other day. I didn't think about the potential for misrepresentation or miscommunication when I shared that file. I thought it was, since a public meeting, it's just a public meeting. And yeah, did want to, I did take a look. You recall in the meeting, there was a suggestion from one of the audience members, one of the local, one of the neighbors, about altering the path to align it with the with a walkway that's present at the lake. That's that looks like it might be feasible.
Yeah. No, I looked on Google Earth and it looks feasible, and I've asked Ron to include it in the site plan.
Great. I took a photo from up on the pit off of the Pittman Trail, but it's badly pixelated when you blow it up enough. So my view of it wouldn't be very useful.
Yeah, I would say as it relates to documents, that was a work session, and so that's why we didn't have.
Good. Okay.
It wasn't a public meeting, but I think once we get the site map and the new renderings from Ron, we'll start introducing things into the public meeting.
Right. Okay. Just to let you know too, Nancy and I were at the mayor's meeting. She kind of gets dragged along anyway. But they had a discussion today involving Andre from the Wilson Company. And the three things were made. One is that the stilling pond is going to be grassed all the way, or the revegetation, the stilling pond goes all the way to the bottom. There is no impervious layer or special layer added to the bottom of the stilling pond.
That's great. That'll help control dust.
Yeah. And the other thing is that he didn't know anything about the boulders. He was actually surprised when they appeared.
Hello, Zoom.
Is the Zoom back?
Yeah, I
Hi,
hear
guys.
coming in.
Okay, I'll stop chatting.
Can you guys hear me out in Zoom?
We can, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're in business here.
Okay, thanks, Bo.
Thanks for your patience.
You bet. Since I can see Don Walker, I can't see any of the other members. Can you tell me who's there?
Turn the camera this way towards us.
Hi, Nancy. Hi, Phil. Hi, Don. I'm calling us to order at 5:08 p.m. with the full committee present. And Bo, thanks for being there today because we obviously needed your help. And are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda?
We can a little more speaker volume in here.
No.
No. Is there a motion to accept the agenda?
I move.
All right, second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
It passes. Persons present not on the agenda. I can see who's in Zoom land. Is there anyone else there who would like to speak?
No one present.
Then we will move on to item 4A, which is consent agenda. And Nancy, you did a good job as always on the meeting minutes. I did not see anything that I needed changed. Were there any other, did anyone see any changes to the minutes?
No.
As a motion to accept them as submitted?
I move.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
And that set of meeting minutes from 3:15 is approved as submitted. And then we also had the meeting minutes from the Stilling Basin Public Forum from March 23rd. Nancy did a good job on those as well. Is there a motion to approve those?
I'd make that motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And those are approved as submitted. Item 5A, a new business, capital improvement plan. Who wants to lead this? Nancy has included in the or has printed out for the members the questionnaires that we need to have for our 90-minute session coming up on a date that we have not yet scheduled. Presumably, we want to get this done in the next 2 weeks. Are there any questions from committee members about those forms or the plan?
I do have a comment. What we're seeing right now, just make sure that this hasn't been updated recently. So over to the right-hand side where it says status update, just make sure that some of them say it hasn't been done or it's in the process or pending. Just make sure you know where the status is for those. Does that make sense? Because some of them have been completed. Because Paul took this from an old file. Does that make
Right.
sense?
It does. I think that was imported from an old file that was presented maybe last year.
Correct. So like where it says the lake improvement, water quality, just 3 down. And it says work funded to be completed with the lake wall and drain repair. That's the ADA, that's the, the wall repair that's already been accomplished.
Mhm. And as we go through, I would suggest as we're going through this, of course, we will have new ideas. We'll have some new things on the list that we've talked about within committee and that are in our goal sessions that aren't on the list, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that we shouldn't write them down and have them added.
And that's what the second page is, Bo, if you scroll down, Bo. If you keep scrolling, keep scrolling, keep scrolling, that page right there, that little rectangle in there, that's to add new items that are not on this list or to take them off if they don't need to be on the list. I don't think the deletions are as important as the additions.
Mhm.
Okay.
And does everyone understand the assignment?
Yeah, Nancy, I don't see the assignment on, I'm not following Bo's file. I get the Zoom and that's all.
Well, and
But we're not seeing your screen or we're not seeing what's being projected.
Yeah,
oh,
we
you're not
just
sure.
see.
Okay, one sec, please. Thanks for letting me know.
You bet.
No worries.
So Jay, these are also the same documents that I emailed out after the last meeting.
Right. I was puzzled looking at those because without going through a line by line comparison, it looked like you had 3 copies of the same 2 pages. Are there subtle differences or slight differences? Among them?
They are different.
Okay.
Just in really fine print.
Okay. I didn't try to do a text comparison. I guess I should have.
Yeah, and Jay, I believe there's a copy that's been printed for you, which you could pick up at town hall.
Yeah,
That's-
I'll get.
Yeah, that's correct.
In case I didn't send out the files correctly, but I think I did.
No, I have a soft copy of the files. I just did a quick, I'm just basing this on a quick look at what I saw.
Don, does this all make sense to you and Phil?
They're ignoring you.
Okay.
Don, he asked if that makes sense to you guys, what we're supposed to do.
Who's, yes, Nancy, who's responsible for this work as far as?
That's the comp, the 2019 comp plan,
Okay, well, who implements it?
the town.
Okay, who is the
You-
main contact? Okay.
You can, well, you can talk into so everyone can hear.
I was just wondering who's the main contact for implementing this, or moving this forward?
You may have to push your button.
It's pushed.
Can
Yeah,
you guys
so
hear Phil?
Can you hear
we
me?
can. So Phil, the short answer is the town is responsible through the committee's work and through the capital improvements plan. And so we took a lot, this information was taken from the last comprehensive plan, which was funded by DOLA and the Kirkpatrick Family Fund, with a lot of community engagement. From that came this list, along with some old capital improvement projects that have been on the list for a while. And we haven't, as a community, I don't think that we've looked at them maybe enough in the last year or so. And so this is sort of a new program to operationalize this list and make sure that all the committees are looking at it jointly.
Okay. Should we take Nancy's kind of recommendation and go through this list, maybe offline, and update what's completed and what's not completed? Or what's...
Yes, and that's exactly what you need to do. This group will meet again within the next 15 to 16 days. We'll have a 90-minute work session with Paul Yingling. And we'll go line by line and I'll go through our notes.
Folks on Zoom, are you seeing my screen at this point?
We see it, but it's extremely tiny and it's stuck on roughly the 9th page.
Okay,
What
thank
I'm-
you.
Yeah, Bo and Jesse, I think the best thing for me to do is to come up to the town hall. Jesse's familiar with this. Nancy made hard copies of all this stuff. And to make sure I've got a good handle on this, I should be up. I'm going to have to just look at it in more detail. I'll come up when there's a break in the discussion. But I'll join it. I'll join eventually, perhaps at the end of the meeting.
Yeah, okay. Jay, you'll be fine on Zoom for the rest of the meeting because this is not homework that's due today. This is for us to work on before our meeting with Paul Yingling and Nancy, if you'll make sure that, or we could do it now. If there's no other questions about the homework, let's go ahead and make a suggestion about when we'd like to have that meeting with
Paul?
Paul. And I know that he wanted to have that by mid-April.
Right. I would suggest April 12th, so it's 2 weeks from now on a Wednesday.
Fine.
Yeah, and I am away until the 21st of April, which means I'll be in Zoom land no matter what.
So Jesse, would you think that that meeting is only going to be about the CIP
Yes,
since it's a 90-minute meeting?
correct.
Okay. That'll be an easy agenda.
Yeah, we already have a PRT meeting scheduled for the 12th, so just usurping that for this discussion is probably a good one.
I don't know. I don't know if we have so much on our plates right now. I don't know if we can. I guess we could tentatively schedule that, and if we need to do anything else for PRT, we can call an extra meeting.
Well, it's like you said, we're sort of getting to the point where of our busy
Mhm.
season, and we're probably going to have 2 meetings a month.
Yeah.
I mean, because we'll probably have to have another meeting in April just to get the community workday sort of squared away
Right.
and some other grants that we're working on. So I think we'd be okay with the 12th for just the CIP and then having another meeting 2 weeks later.
Mhm.
Would be my suggestion.
Yeah, and that 2 weeks later is 10 days before the community workday.
Correct.
I
Yeah.
think I think we'll be okay there. So does anyone have an issue with doing this capital improvements plan on having that meeting at our normal time on Wednesday, April the 12th?
I'm good.
I'm good.
No, I'd be fine.
Don shaking his head. Did you see his shaking his head?
I did. I could feel it in Oklahoma.
Up and down, not side to side.
There you go. It was up and down.
And plan for 90 minutes. And I'll say now before that meeting that we'll put on our patient hats and realize that we probably all will have the same thing to say about one thing. And we don't have to, we have a lot of ground to cover in 90 minutes. So that's all I'm gonna say about that right now. I'm gonna have a Zoom signal during that meeting, like a big stop sign that says, okay. Move to the next item.
That works.
That works. Okay. So no actions required on 5A. I'm going to move to 5B, the Community Spring Workday. Some of the captains have done a great job and got their reports together. Others, like myself, have done not much homework on that, which means Phil hasn't done his homework because we're working jointly.
I'm waiting for some expert direction.
And it will come. So Dawn, why don't you start by taking us through your report?
The captain's report.
Yes, please.
Captain, my captain.
We'll start with the split rail
Have a
fence
good one.
repair estimate.
Mhm.
That one.
We've divided it up into 3 parks: the gazebo park, Squire Park, and Pool Park. I went through and made an inventory of all of the repairs that need to be made in each park. I also estimated the materials to purchase for those repairs. I then estimated the volunteer man hours required for those repairs to each park. I also made some special notes with respect to the gazebo park. There's about 20 foot of old buried fence on the causeway. Doesn't really do anything except look unsightly, so I'm suggesting that we remove that in this process. Also, there's some old social distancing signs that are on the fence that I would recommend be removed. Also noted that there's 110 feet of area on the new construction that has no fence at all. And while it's not in this estimate, I would recommend that we continue that split rail fence along that area at the top of the retaining wall. On
is
Squire
a-
Park, special notes, there's approximately 85 feet of fence that's been removed at some point in time. It's all in one area on the west side, and I'm calling for that to be replaced, of course, in this estimate, and also placing a walkthrough, a 5-foot walkthrough there, and then there's also a 5-foot walkthrough on the south fencing area too. The pool park is in pretty good shape. Of course, all of that fence along the tennis court, basketball court was moved. There is an area at the very end of the fence towards the housing, residential housing, that has been hit or pulled down. That, of course, will be replaced in this process. The summary, there's approximately $1,500 of materials to purchase. I understand that Green Box has some inventory that they may decide to donate to the process, and there's approximately $500 of line posts and rails in inventory that they currently have. This would bring us an adjusted materials to purchase approximately $1,000 and 50 hours, man hours to accomplish the repairs. Any questions?
I think it's a great report, as usual, Don. Jesse, do we know what kind of, I know we got a budget approved
Mhm.
through the maintenance plan.
Right.
Do we know how this compares to what we had budgeted?
We budgeted $250. I just looked while Don was giving his report. And following our last meeting, when we saw Don's initial report, I sent an email to the town manager to see if there were any additional funds available for that project. I haven't heard back yet. But I think that we should, I mean, I think we should plan to do this. We know how many volunteers hours we need, which was really the call to this plan was to find out what tools, what supplies we needed and how many man hours. So I think Don's done a great job of identifying that. And Don, what do you envision as the team putting together that 50 hours? Is it 3 people? How do you think that's going to work out? With actually doing the
Thank you.
work.
I think that's a good question, because I do think this is kind of specialty work
Mhm.
that, the normal volunteer off the street would be strained to handle. I'm thinking this could probably be done before the volunteer day by just a select crew of volunteers. I think that me and, 2 other people would be adequate to get this done with relative ease.
Yeah, Don, digging the holes for those posts is probably one of the bigger actions on that. Would you use a rotary auger for something like that, or?
No, well,
Whistle here?
you can, of course. There is some inherent problems with the ground we have on using a rotary auger, a manual rotary auger. I found that using an impact hammer with a specialized bit on the end of it,
Right.
and the old-fashioned post hole digger is the way to go for these things.
Yeah. I would
Okay.
agree. The ground's really too rocky for auger.
Okay,
So, so Don, a couple of things need to come together before we can proceed on this. And one is getting you help and support. How would you like to accomplish that? Through a flyer, through a reach out? Do you want to?
I can make some
People
personal
on their own?
contacts. I can make
Okay.
some personal contacts and see about getting a crew together if we can
Okay.
get the materials.
I know that we will, I know that you know to call before you dig. We'll have to get a town waiver of liability for volunteers for this and all of our community workday events. And there's still the small part of finding the remaining money for those materials. And you may want to, if there's a significant portion of fence, like the one at the new wall on the lake, that we're not funded to do. In other words, if we come short on funding, what's the first thing that gets eliminated? You might think that through.
Well, the 110 feet on the gazebo park, that area where the new construction is, I did not include that in this estimate because I didn't think that part of the work should be done until all the construction people are cleared out, because they're still going to have to may have to disturb that ground again. There's another 85 feet on Squire Park that could be left alone, and it wouldn't look necessarily bad. It'd just be absent fence. But it and just focus on the posts that are broken off and the rails that are missing.
Gotcha. And when I'm speaking to the town manager about this need for funding, I'll mention the risk at Squire Park of not having that fence up, because if we get a vehicle in there on top of all those septic systems, it could be bad.
Indeed.
Jesse, I think we need to double check the budget of $250 because we broke that out to individual parks. And I thought for each park, we had monies for fencing, split rail fencing. Am I
Let me
wrong?
go. Yeah, let me go back to my summary here on that sheet. Give me just a second here.
You want me to hum?
Yes.
I have another report. I don't think it got on the agenda.
Because I didn't think that was.
Of course it is. Huh?
You're gonna do food for 20.
That was on
Nancy, I want to hear the.
list.
So we budgeted $250 for fence in Gazebo Park. At Pool Park, we budgeted $2,000 for repairs and repainting of the fence around the pool. And we budgeted an additional $250 for repairing the split rail fence at Squires Park.
Look at all the money we're finding.
So that brings us to $500 for split rail fence because if we have that money for the pole fence, it probably needs to remain there.
Correct.
So I think to be continued until I hear back from town officials about that budget. Don, did you have a second half of your report that I'm not aware of?
Yes. I've entitled this Goose Poop Pickup Estimate.
I think that you found that my shop vac idea was not so bad.
Yeah, I capitalized on that. So here's basically we're looking at goose poop pickup area for the gazebo park. I'm estimating 24 man hours to clean up the public areas. The special notes, I've called for some tools I'd like to give a try to find the best way to clean up their little droppings. So I'm gonna call out for a shop vacuum. I also have a lawn vacuum. I don't know if that's going to be practical or not, but it'd be worth giving it a try because if it works, it would work relatively fast and it's got a power drive on it. So also we're coming down to just the broom and shovel. You know, if all else fails, we'll use that. Of course, we'll need the bags, disposable gloves, disinfectants. I'm also asking that Public Works provide some hoses, water for and spray cleaning the sidewalk and the fishing pier and anywhere else we find it that's on a hard surface.
Yeah, that would probably be useful on the, I think there's still there are small amounts of goose poop on the basketball court. They haven't hit the fitness court yet. They probably will, but sweeping that off, I haven't seen any sign of them over there.
I'm unclear about, of course, I didn't call in this spec, I didn't call out any other park other than Gazebo Park. Just because I know that, or have been informed that the goose repellent is being applied in Gazebo Park. I'm not certain that the repellent is being applied anywhere else, and I don't think it's, well, if we do focus on other parks, then I think we should be applying the repellent as well.
They're not as common over on the other side, but they do make their appearance. You can concentrate on Gazebo Park for now.
I think for the community workday, which is what we're talking about, that focusing on Gazebo Park is right. Don is forecasting that the geese will move to another location, and he's probably right about that too. But that'll be a different day. Nancy, if you would be so kind enough to take Don's list of tools that he's requested, and mark off ones that he has said that he's going to provide, ultimately coming up with a list of things that we need, that we want to ask to borrow from Public Works for that day, that would be helpful.
Can do.
I should have gave that to Phil, but you got it, Nancy.
I got it.
Don, anything else?
I have a new report on the swimming pool project.
We're not there yet.
Sorry.
Slow down.
Any other questions on the scoop, on the goose poop pickup or split rail fence? Not, I'm done.
Great work, Don. Appreciate it. Jay,
Okay. Okay, Bo, if you can pull up my file, I can
Go
put it
back.
up myself.
Keep going, keep going, keep going. Keep going. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. That one, right? Nope. Yep.
Yep, just one sheet. Okay, that was the Team A plan. Trimming the grounds in the 4 parks, collecting debris and thatch for removal. I called Squire Park, Flagpole Park in this list. But we'd start again from the priority was that we'd start at Gazebo Park. I did not realize that Don had already addressed the goose poop issue, so that's a good bit of work off of my plate. I would be expecting to leaf rake that area and level the playground, the wood chips in the playground. I think that's a fairly small piece of work. Squire Park, Gazebo Park, raking that area would take a fairly large time. I initially estimated 4 people would do the whole of these sections in 4 hours. I think that's underestimating it substantially after I measured the areas. The contrail area, a stretch along the creek, we'd want to add cleaning the picnic tables and removing leaves from the creek to the raking job. Removing leaves from the creek will be a fairly tedious piece of work because that, it's basically mucking into that area. Pool Park would require a fair amount of energy to get at. It's fairly large. There's a fair amount of debris around it. And the fitness court, fitness basketball and tennis courts should probably be hosed down at that time to bring them up to a good good level of to clean them out essentially. I've spoken with previously. I've spoken with the town manager about using hoses that are present from the at the pool itself. They would be able to. There's enough material, enough hose to stretch over to those areas and cover them. So I think on reflection, 6 people over a morning would be able to accomplish the raking for these areas, although it might leave some difficulty removing and cleaning the creek area. There was a little, I was just plan on making piles of debris that we could pick up and transfer to dumpsters with the aid of the town staff. And then mowing those areas, we'd need to borrow mowers from the town or Jesse has kindly offered already. Don't know how much mowing will be needed at the early part of May. That the grass is notoriously slow to grow at that first phase of the year. Now, I did also put in a little comment deeper into this. I called it a stretch goal. One of the things that I've already I had previously talked to the town manager about trimming some of the trees in Pool Park. Pool Park and the area around Con Park have a number of dead limbs. In a couple cases, there are limbs that are almost widowmakers that are hanging above people. I didn't that would be best accomplished in the same fashion that Don's extracurricular effort on the on the split rail fencing might be done. It's a specialty project. I have saws that are suitable for that, pole saws and ladders that could be used for a small group of people. Probably 2 people would be sufficient to make that happen. Becky had already discussed, we had already discussed the special case of a waiver for that work and action. She didn't see a difficulty making that happen. I put in a comment about resetting the rails, again, not realizing that Don had a parallel Don's project covered all that. I would question or suggest that we probably need to add more wood chips to the areas below some of the playground equipment. I don't know if there's any pre-chipped material that's available, or if a wood chipper could be put to use for branches and other materials. It definitely would improve the functionality and safety of those areas. They're pretty, especially the swings at Pool Park are, they're downright dangerous. They're 2 feet below, they can, 1.5 feet below the level of the below the level of the surroundings. So that's kind of the background for me. That's what I saw being desirable. I've got a list of equipment there. I had not been able to talk to the town manager as yet about these.
Thank you, Jay. A couple of comments. I don't think that, I'm not sure that we should all be talking to the town manager.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't know how this was going to go forward, so I
Right.
had not spoken to her yet.
Yeah, so I think these will go on Nancy's list as a formal request
Good.
from PRT to the town for support during the community work day. That way we get everything in writing and we're prepared for the day.
Good.
So I think maybe even between now and the next meeting is really sort of pulling this down into, you're going to need X number of people for X number of hours, so that we, as we get volunteers sign up, that we can assign them to one of the 2 or 3 committees. But this is great. Great work from both you and Dawn getting us organized and ready for this. I do have a comment about what needs to be done at the swing sets. Nancy, I'm going to depend on your history with playground equipment and knowledge. I am working on a proposal, and I'll talk about it in reports. So maybe a little bit of outside funding to get a couple of projects done in the parks. I think getting the wood chips or pellets or whatever the actual preference is for playground equipment could go onto that list. You know what I'm talking about, Nancy?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, and that material and, replacing the wood chips would make maintenance go way down, and it's more durable. So it's more expensive, but it also is low maintenance and more durable.
Good. Yeah, it's clear that the wood chips have degraded. The wood chips that are there have degraded pretty badly. So an alternative approach would be a good thing. It sounds like that's outside the scope of the community day. So, my comment, stretch goals was developed in isolation. So the last two entries on that stretch, on that paragraph associated with stretch goals should be deleted because there's better alternatives or better alternatives being considered.
But Jay, I'm glad you put them on there because I wouldn't have thought to add them to this other project that I'm working on had I not seen these on your
Okay.
list,
Good. Okay.
which
thank you.
also tells you that I read your list before the meeting. Nancy, would you need help quantifying the amount of that product that you need or the volume that you need?
What are we talking about?
Um,
The playground? Are we back on the playground?
we're
No.
back on the playground
Okay.
and replacing the wood chips with, how do you calculate the number of cubic feet that you're going to need? And maybe that's something that Phil could help you with.
I can do that.
You need assistance with that.
I
Phil-
can do that.
Phil said he can do that.
Question. How are you going to dispose of the wood chips that are there? That's going to be a lot of material.
Yeah, I don't know. That would
Just
be,
throw it in the creek.
Well, Nancy, I'm seeing, I'm seeing the need for, potentially a roll-off dumpster for this community work day.
I agree. Maybe we can,
That's almost like a separate activity.
yeah, maybe that could be something that is, maybe, we had been getting those roll-offs, free for, twice a year. Maybe this is the time we ask to have one brought in to, help with our community workday.
Yeah, let's put it on the ask list and see how we can get it, how we can achieve it.
Okie dokie.
I have a question. What material are you thinking about using to replace the
We'll talk later.
later? Okay.
Any other comments on community workday?
What about my report?
I'm ready.
Mine is easy peasy. We're pulling weeds, and you can see I estimate 4 enthusiastic, good-natured adults. I'm not saying man hours or women hours. I'm just saying adults can help mitigate the bank in about 4 hours, because what I'm looking at is that south bank of the gazebo where the weeds have gone amok. And we need to mitigate all those weeds so that we can start having some native grasses and wildflowers taking over there besides the weeds that have called it their home for a long, long time. So all I really need, we will definitely have to tell anyone volunteers to come and bring their heavy gloves. But my only thing I need is those contractor heavy duty cleanup bags, because they're sturdy enough to hold all the debris and the weeds.
Yeah,
And that's it.
and we do have a good supply of those contractors bags left over from the
Creek Week,
fall Creek Week. Mhm.
perfect.
So anyone who's not enthusiastic or good humored can work with Jay or Dawn, is what I'm hearing you say.
Exactly.
Got it. As I said before, I do not have my homework done for this, but I will. And mine is less specific to the community cleanup day, with the exception of the digital asset that I'm working on. Any other comments on community work day?
Nope.
many
Let's
people
scroll
are
back
you
up to the agenda and see what is
Don't know.
next.
That's what all the reports we put together.
So Don, item 5C is the pool operational study. Would you update us on where you're at there?
I certainly will. First of all, I want to make it understood that this is just my personal perspective that I've added. And I really want, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth. So don't be afraid to critique me or say that this is not, doesn't represent the PRT or anything like that. So just, shoot some holes in it if you need to, but this is what I got. I'm not going to read all of it. I'm just going to hit the highlights. But it's important to understand what our objective is in this project. So I stated that the PRT committee shall develop a and present a cost option plan to the BOT that is both practical and economical for the opening of the Green Mountain Falls swimming pool for the 2023 season. I also recommend, the PRT recommends that any cost option plan chosen through this process shall be approved by SURSA through a risk management assessment review with the town manager and a PRT representative. I also ascribe to us this note in that the cost option plans are all considered to be a stopgap measure to opening the pool given this late date for the 2023 season, and because there was no money appropriated for it. We consider the pool a valuable asset to our community and an important public service to our residents. PRT believes that any one of the cost option plans that the BOT funds can be a foundation to launch a better funded, a better staffed, and recruit more volunteers for the pool operations in the years to come. So I have 3 cost option plans. The first one, as you see, is a 3-star plan. And that functions off the days that it's open primarily. And the 3-star plan, we're open Friday, Saturdays, and Sunday. And we have a children's swim time and an adult swim time. This equates to 252 hours of operation over 14 weeks. And I'm also calling out for 2 different employees. Of course, one we decided on were the certified lifeguards. And the other one, after having a discussion with Nancy, she made it clear in my mind that the pool coordinator is absolutely necessary for an integral operation of this. And if we don't have somebody that we can count on as a coordinator, then everything else is going to fall apart. So I'm calling for an employee as designated as a pool coordinator. And if I slip and say pool coordinator, please forgive me. It's just from the part of the country I come from.
There's a long story behind that, but
Okay, so well, then we have 2 employees in, lifeguard coordinator. We also have volunteers for the front desk clerk. We have 126 time slots of 2 hours each. And then one thing we didn't look at last time because we didn't have any data for it was a budget. And so under the 3-star operating budget, many of these numbers are estimated, but I think they're pretty good estimates. I'm looking at revenues based on fees that were collected last year of $3,100. I actually think that if we move to a donation status for usage of the pool, we'll actually generate more revenue. So I'm estimating $4,000 for the 2023 season. And then based on an idea that Jesse suggested that we start a campaign to sell pre-purchased pool tickets for the VRBOs. I understand that they get a higher rating if they have options for swimming. So there's $1,000 there, total revenue $5,000. We'd go down to the expenses, lifeguard, the biggest ones are the lifeguard, $6,300, pool coordinator, $2,100. And then there's here a cost for water, $2,700. And I've noted that is primarily this cost was primarily for filling the pool. We are not getting the water free, as I understood from Colorado Public Utilities. So this water was purchased. And I think I mentioned it in our notes somewhere that if we're paying this cost, it would probably be wise to look at repairing our water well sometime in the near future. So we go down to the bottom. We're basically estimating $15,000 for expenses, $5,000 revenues, which would create a deficit of $10,000. So in this 3-star option plan, we would be asking the BOT to spend an estimated $10,000 out of the general fund to open the pool. Now we can go on to this 2-star plan, which basically knocks 1 day of operation off, and we're just open on Saturdays and Sundays. This cuts our hours of operation down to 168. And you can see by looking at this, I highlighted the changes from the 3-star plan, so it'd be easy to scan over and see what's changed. We've reduced our hours of operation. We've also reduced our hours of time slots that we need to refill with volunteers. And then going on to the operating budget, we can see that I've estimated $3,000 for donations just because we just are not marketing. I just foresee less of revenues from just being open 2 days as opposed to 3, or even as, if someday we're open 7 days a week. But in any event, I estimated total revenues of $4,000, reduced lifeguard wages, $4,200, pool coordinator, $1,400. Everything else basically remaining the same because it's basically overhead. So this would equate to a $8,200 deficit, and we'd be requesting the BOT spend $8,200 out of their general fund to open it for the 2023 season. Now we can go to the 1-star plan, which I think would, is the very minimum that we could even bother to open the pool with, but it's basically open 1 day a week on Saturdays. Down to 1 time slot, and that's the children's time slot in the afternoon. We've reduced our operating hours to 56 over 14 weeks. And we've also cut down on our wages that we'd spend for a certified lifeguard. And also, this is important to note that we would recommend that the pool coordinator position be assigned to the town manager. I don't think that would be overburdened just 1 day a week. So going to the operating budget of the 1-star plan, I'm estimating for donations raised of $2,000, the VRBOs, $1,000 still, and showing a total revenue of $3,000. The lifeguard wages would be reduced to $1,400, and pool coordinator wages would be reduced to 0. This would ultimately equate to a $3,000 deficit, and then of course, the BOT would be expending $3,000 out of their general fund to open the pool for the 2023 season. The other things worth mentioning, I just added to the pool administration, identifying the administrator's role as a pool coordinator, lifeguard, and front desk clerk. And then as we move forward, that list will obviously be increased. I also called out that as we do this, that we can generate a book, one called the Pool Coordinator, Green Mountain Falls Administration Guide Book for the pool coordinator, another one for the lifeguard, and another one for the front desk clerk. So as the years go forward, we'll have an administration handbooks that each position will understand what their job responsibility is. And it won't have to be reinvented every season when we get new people. I think going to the pool operations, I've already noted that the cost of purchasing the water, I think would greatly justify looking at repairing the water well. And there's a pool maintenance calendar to get the pool open and utilizing volunteers to get that particular work done. I think it's clearly understood that I want it clearly understood that the PRT's position is that we want it to be free, the swimming to be free to all Green Mountain Fall residents. It's a public service. They paid for it. They shouldn't have to pay for it again and using it. And that, you know, in that effort, I think that if donations are marketed properly, that we could probably raise more revenue in donations than trying to charge fees. I understand the busiest day last year was free day, and that's when everybody came out to swim. So that's why I'd like to see it every day. One other thing that you should know about our meeting with the town manager and discussing this project is that the pool parking lot we thought should be redesignated for handicap parking only and emergency vehicles. Also, that we wanted the pool parking lot to be reconfigured to be a drive-through for patrons to drop off the users. And noting that the pool parking can be redesignated to the new parking area along Ute Avenue. That concludes my report. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you a quick one, Don, first, and then I'll let everyone go around. Also in our meeting with the town manager, she mentioned, and I'm not remembering, she mentioned setting up a fund in which these donations and would be
Earmarking.
made in earmarked into a fund for something. So do you remember what that was for? Was that for future improvements of the pool?
Yeah, it's worth mentioning. She, of course, I kind of understood this. I took it for granted that monies donated to the pool for pool usage would be returned to the pool. But she made a special note in saying that all monies should be earmarked to go back to the pool. Not only that, but to accumulate a sum of money that could be used in a matching grant for capital pool improvements.
Thank you, Don. Jay, any comments?
No, that's pretty thorough in my mind.
Nancy?
As usual, Don, great job. like having the options. I mean, that's always a good thing to present to the board, to give them options, not give them a demand, but give them, different ways to look at it and, appreciate the 3-star versus the 1-star. One question though is, what has our response for volunteers been? How many do we have on our list so far?
Good. I'm glad you asked. I have to say that the response has been light, but it hasn't even been a week yet. I've got 7 people that responded, but they all look like quality people. They're very interested. And I would anticipate, knowing a little bit about volunteerism, that the more that we market this, we could be circulating it each week. The closer we get, more public statements that would encourage volunteerism to open the pool, I think that we would get sufficient numbers to get the project done.
And I think if we can reach out to those volunteers that have already signed up, if they could be at the board meeting when this is presented, and they could make a public comment saying that I'm willing to volunteer for this and give some time. I think that would be powerful too. Just so that the board knows that there are volunteers out there, not just a number, but a face, and having those people come and doing just a quick public speaking.
Excellent idea.
Thank you. Your turn.
I have one question on the, we have 3-star, 2-star, and 1-star. How about a 4-star? One of the questions that my granddaughter had is that sometimes they didn't want to use the pool because it was never open. And, just one day a week, for the 1-star is pretty limited. I just wondered if you want to have an option to the board for 4 days, open it 4 days. I know it's more expensive, but it's, I think the more hours the pool is open, I think there'd be more accessibility to the community. Rather than just, 3, 2, 1.
I would like to see it in the years to come open 7 days a week, especially during the tourist season. This is just my personal perspective, but looking at the numbers as I have, I think 3 days with a volunteer staff is stretching it. I'm stretching our volunteer to the max. If we went more than that, I would see it with paid personnel, because we just get so many slots. It's amazing how it adds up, of how many people you have to find to fill. And of course, the integrity of volunteers is maybe a little bit lower than paid staff as far as showing up for work. And
I agree. I'm just a recommendation of the problem. You can present a 4-star, but maybe cost prohibitive and maybe tough to fill, volunteers. So, just a comment.
well, I would be happy to, do another cost option for 4 stars, but I would foresee, and I'll do it any way you guys want to do it, but I would foresee it as adding to the employee base in that operation.
I'm sorry, I had my mic off, but it's just something that gives us another for the board to look another option at. I know it's more expensive and maybe more impractical. It's just an idea.
So let's see where to start. Phil, I hear what you're saying, and I think that we can recommend this in such a way that if the Board of Trustees is interested in being open more, that we can use this format and template that Don has built to estimate those expenses. Where do we stop? I think 3 is probably a good place, but I hear what you're saying, Phil, and I agree. If we could be open more days, it's easy for us to calculate those numbers, but I don't think we have to present it or muddy the waters further for this presentation to the Board of Trustees. And that's just my thought, and we can argue that after or when we get to the conclusion of this discussion. Don, I do have a question about so we're listing as an employee a pool coordinator at $50 a day. And I understand that that's the person who's coordinating volunteers and making sure that they're the responsible person making things done. So if we have a pool coordinator there 2 hours per day, is that in addition to a volunteer desk clerk, or is that the same, or could that potentially be the same person?
Be a different person. The pool coordinator, I just called out a few of the responsibilities of a paid coordinator. Of course, they would be scheduling and making sure all the volunteer slots for the front desk are filled. And also, of course, schedule and coordinate all the lifeguard activities. She'd be responsible for, or coordinator would be responsible for opening and closing the facility. Okay. Also, they'd also be responsible for performing simple pool operations like testing the water. And they would not be required to be there at all times that the pool is open. Their primary responsibility is to make sure it opens and there's people there staffing it. Does that make better sense?
It does make better sense. I think that if a volunteer is not available to perform a desk clerk shift for those 2 hours, is it then going to be the responsibility of the pool coordinator to cover that if necessary, to keep the pool open? And so that's just the way I'm thinking about it. So in a perfect world, we would have a lifeguard, a pool coordinator, and a volunteer. And in a position where we don't have a volunteer, we could still be open if that pool coordinator covered the 2-hour desk shift.
Yes.
Okay.
And in this case, she's being paid by the hour. She's an employee of the town and would be compensated therefore.
That makes sense. That makes sense to me. I just
So in
wanted
other
to
words,
talk
she
it,
would
I
get-
wanted to talk it through because it was a little bit confusing when I was just seeing it on paper.
So the pool coordinator would get a flat weekly fee, or it wouldn't go above 2 hours a week. It would just be a flat fee that she would get, or the person would get to do this position. It's not an hourly position. It's not like, okay, you have to fill in for these 2 hours for this volunteer that didn't show up. I'm okay with that. I'm not sure a person's going to sign up for that, but.
Well, I want to make it clear, the coordinator's responsibility is to make sure that the pool is open on designated times and is staffed.
Yep.
And if it isn't, then it's her responsibility to staff it.
Yeah.
or close it.
Or close it.
Well,
That stinks.
yeah, if there's not a lifeguard, of course, but.
Yeah.
But it's just taking the burden. I mean, like you said, that is a cornerstone of that operation, is that person that coordinates everything. And so I think designating it as a town employee, I would give this town manager a better ability to control and manage what's going on down there, as opposed to a volunteer.
No, I agree with you. I think it's a position that should have a little bit of monetary reward to it. No, I'm not arguing with you at all. I think that is definitely a position that needs to have some money thrown at it.
Yeah, and I agree too. Specifically, I'm looking under employees for pool coordinator at $25 per hour equals $50 per day. So that suggests to me that it's not $50 a week, that it's $50 a day.
Oh,
And
yeah. Oopsies. My
Is
bad.
that correct, Don?
Yes.
So I think that gives us a lot more, a little bit more leeway, Nancy, in case.
Correct. So I'm going to apply for $25 an hour as a trail ambassador coordinator. Do I get reimbursed? I'm joking.
Nancy, we couldn't afford you.
Mhm.
Absolutely. No, you're way too expensive.
No, but I really think if you do have some kind of a money backing up that pool coordinator, because that is a much bigger job than the trail ambassador coordinator, I think you would get more interest.
You know, from a business perspective, or, you know, from a hotel perspective, if I'm going to pay someone $25 an hour per day that the pool is open, I would want them to cover the shift if a volunteer was not available. And I think there would be time for them to get everything done. And I wonder if I just wonder if we shouldn't add even $50 a day that the pool's open as a buffer for that. If I was writing a business plan for the hotel, that's what I would probably add a little cushion there.
So you're saying only get paid when the pool is open? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, I mean, I'm reading what it says for the pool coordinators, $25 an hour. It's $50 a day for each day that the pool's open. Am I understanding that right, Don?
Yes. I figured that it's not delineated whether it's an hourly or salary, but I'm just saying I'm estimating that a coordinator might spend 2 hours a day getting the thing open twice a day and closed twice a day, testing water, taking care of volunteer staff and answering questions and stuff like that. So $50 a day that the pool's open.
So I think with that, this is a pretty solid plan. Now let's talk about our motion and what are we really asking the board for? So I'm just going to talk for a minute and then we will try to formulate our motion. Because really what we're asking for the Board of Trustees to do is to open the pool based on one of these potential plans that the PRT has put forth. We're also asking them to hire employees based on that plan We are also asking them to set up a fund in which donations can be received. And Don, when you're presenting, remember that we're authorizing or that we're asking for them to authorize in the 3-star plan $15,000 in expenditures.
I don't think we have to ask for setting up a fund because there's a policy already put in place for donations to go to either PRT or the fire mitigation. As long as they, having that donation specifically earmarked or, noted to go to the pool. We already have permission to get donations. So I don't think we have to ask for that again. Does
Okay,
that make sense?
it does. I want to make sure that we have
Spell
a
it
full
out?
one. Yeah, I want to make sure that we do spell it out because
Okay.
the STR folks will question that because of something that happened to them a few years ago where they agreed to increase the town lodging tax for monies earmarked for the parks, and then it was later told to them that that was not possible.
Okay, now that's
So,
fine.
yeah, I think we want to spell it out because
Okay,
if we want people to donate, we need to.
How do you make those donations?
We talked with the town manager about having a QR code that people could scan on their phone at the pool desk and make those donations there.
Well, is being new to the committee, is there a place where they could mail a check or?
Yeah.
Is that known? Because I don't know, but I don't know.
I think checks are still accepted, aren't they,
Yeah,
Bo?
really.
Yes.
I guess cash is still
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
Right?
cash is still good.
We actually talked about not taking cash donations at the pool because that's an extra layer
I
of
was
liability.
just kidding. I was just kidding. But I just wondered if the community is aware of where to make those donations and how to do that.
Probably not yet, but once we get the, go further on, then we'll
Yeah,
make sure that,
the more public that is,
Yeah.
the more donations you get, I think.
true.
Any other thoughts? Here,
I have one comment that I was thinking about. I don't know if the pool coordinator. I was thinking, once that person, if you're just gonna give him so many dollars for just, $50, a day, whatever. It may be more attractive if to make that a full-time position for 6 hours. More expensive, I know, but that kind of eliminates the need for maybe volunteers or the need for volunteers if that's a full-time position, along with the lifeguard. And of course, money talks, but if it may be more advantageous to maybe advertise that as a 6 hours a day rather than just 2 hours. It may be because, a lot of people have other responsibilities and may not fit their schedule. So I'm just maybe more attractive to some future employee to do that.
yeah,
Just
I
a
don't
comment.
think, yeah, I don't think that $18, 18 hours a week on our 3-star plan would qualify for that. Full-time status. Am I right, Nancy?
I think so, but I think what Phil was saying is instead of having any volunteers, just having the pool coordinator working the 6 hours. That full time, not like a 36-hour week, but just the full time of that day. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So 6 hours on Friday, 6 hours on Saturday, 6 hours on Sunday. Instead of 2 hours. And then you would sort of you wouldn't have to have your volunteer list. You would have a paid person at the front desk, pool coordinator
And a lifeguard.
and a lifeguard. So just a different way, a different option.
Also, in case anything would happen mechanically or whatever, that person would be there full time. And make any corrections that needed to be made.
Open for discussion.
So 18. I'm pulling out my calculator.
That would be another. $4 times.
So it'd be
14.
$450 a week versus $150 a week.
Yeah.
Jay, what is your reaction to that? Nancy, what is your reaction to that?
I think it's a viable option. However, it's going to raise the cost. And, I mean, we can run some numbers. Don could run some numbers. I can run some numbers and see how much that does up it. But I see the logic of it and I understand that. I think that the cost is going to be prohibitive because of it.
Especially on.
Yeah.
We just,
Plan 3.
you know, as I noted on the cover page, all these plans are just a stopgap. Because we're 60 days away from opening with no money.
Yeah.
So we need to build whatever they decide to do, if anything, is to build on it each year with more funding and better staff.
Well, and I do feel like once the community sees the effort going into trying to open the pool and also the volunteers down there, you know, stepping in, maybe it is opened another day. Maybe people do step up. I mean, there's nothing better about advertising than doing. And seeing a person in that position and doing it. And then, you know, a neighbor comes up and says, well, how can I help? So it can grow. And I get Phil's point of wanting to pay that pool coordinator more and not having to rely on volunteers and not having to fill the spots if it's empty. However, I agree with Don. We just need to give the options to the board of getting it open and getting that ball rolling and figuring it out.
Yeah, good position there, Nancy. I'm sorry, I was muted when Jesse asked me to comment. I'm inhibited by the price. You know, we heard the discussion this morning about the capital improvements in the town relating to Stilling Pond. Town's going to go into financial shock pretty darn quick. So tiptoeing into this or beginning the process and pointing out, here's how hard we're working. This, if you want more, you have to
Do more.
you either contribute more in volunteer time or you are willing to pay the price. I think that's a good summary. A 4-star or 5-star effort would be fantastic, but it costs. So getting something on the board, something in front of people so that they can see it would be a good step forward.
So I think that was a good discussion. Good discussion. Consensus is that I agree that the volunteer engagement and the community support of the pool, I think, is critical to getting it open. And it sort of is part of the magic of this working, is that we have the support of the community. So I would like to formulate a motion here for this recommendation. Nancy, do you have the bones for that?
I think I have 3 bones on it. We were going to recommend that the board open the pool per the provided PRT recommendations. That we recommend hiring employees and setting up a fund for donations to the pool.
Don, any other bones? I think you got it, Nancy.
Are we recommending a specific plan
No,
to the board?
no,
Just
we're going to provide all 3 options
let
and
them make the decision?
they make that decision, but they also need to know that decision involves hiring employees.
Okay.
And it also involves setting up a fund that goes directly to the pool.
Okay.
Donations. Did you move that, Jesse?
I did.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Then that passes. Any group, any notes for Don when he's presenting this? Don, I will be zoomed in because I have other things on the agenda that night too, I believe. I haven't seen the agenda yet, but I think if you sort of read the motion from the PRT and focus on the 3-star plan and end by saying there are by reducing the number of days that we're open, we can fall to the 2-star plan or the 1-star plan. And obviously, if we wanted to be open more, we can use this schedule to come up with a 4, 5, or 6-star plan. That way, I think in doing that, you focus the Board of Trustees on the 3-star plan, and it's really well thought out. And I think even before you present the 3-star plan, that you talk about the community engagement piece and the number of volunteers who have already shown interest. And saying we've had 7 people interested in 42 shifts is different than saying we've had 7 people interested in serving multiple shifts. And that's word semantics, but it's completely different. And I'm not sure what those 7 people said. If that makes sense.
Yes, I understand your approach. I will try my best.
And I can have some of that wordage in the advice memo too.
Okay.
As
Okay.
far as the background, and they get that in their packet. And we'll have this whole, your proposal will be attached to the advice memo. And they get the packet early and they'll be able to look through it and read through it also. So you'll have some background. You're not going up there cold.
Yeah, I wouldn't anticipate me having to read the thing to
No,
them.
no.
And just touching on the highlights of why we think it's important.
Agreed.
Don, I can loan you a flak vest if you like it for that meeting.
A flak jacket?
Yep.
I don't think we ever needed one before, but okay.
No, they did ask us for this, and I think, Dawn, you've done a great job. I think the committee's done a good job of poking holes. We've done some due diligence with the town manager. So I'm proud of the group for putting this together and getting it back to the board so quickly. And Don, especially all your effort in it.
One comment,
Are you on?
yeah, I'm on.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
One comment, would it be a good idea to, in that meeting, is to have a list of confirmed volunteers that
Yeah.
would help sell this thing to the committee or to the board, to just let them know that there is some public, commitment to this.
Yep.
Help sell it.
Yeah, I think Nancy will have that in the advice memo, correct, Nancy?
If Don shares his intellectual knowledge with me, yes.
Do we have any volunteers that signed up at Poll Coordinator?
Dozens and dozens, but I can't retrieve the emails from that Gmail site.
Okay. I mean, it was a joke, but I'm also like, do we have people signing up for that didn't get the message? I'm sure we'll hear from them if we don't.
I did follow up to that address. It appears that it's, we caught it the same day. So,
We did.
yeah.
Okay.
I did.
Okay. I don't think that I may have emailed it out before that mistake was caught, so I'm going to follow up with the people that I talked to. Anything else on this topic before we move on? Sorry for the long meeting, guys. We're getting a lot done though. Item 5D, the gazebo historic structure assessment grant information. Nancy?
Yes. So I hope most of you guys read over this. This very first part is what is needed to do this grant. This grant is only to get the monies for the engineering to do the real work. So it's a grant to get a grant. And this piece right here just shows you all the different steps and what you need to apply for this historic structure assessment grant. Bo, if you go down, I'm not going to go through each one of these. It's pretty much a regular grant. You have your project team, which would be like Becky, she's administered so many grants and she'll have that all on there. You have a 500 word or less over the resource description and the significance of the structure, which gives you details there. And there are definitely more details. Now, the scope of work is not part of this grant. The scope of work is what you use once you get this grant. That $15,000, which is the max, there's a 10% match of the town. The $15,000 would pay for the engineering of that structure and what needs to be done. The scope of work, I attached all the rest of that on the very bottom. It is a very detailed scope of work. I'm sure Dawn is familiar with what you have to do with a historic structure. So I just attached that just for information. So, but it's not part of this grant. You do not have to do it for this grant. It's just what is done after you get this grant. The budget is, like I said, it's a 15,000 max, a 10% match of that. You have to do your budget template. Keep scrolling. You have to have a project description, 1,500 words or less, a project timeline, and then all these attachments. So it's a time-consuming grant. There's a lot to be put into it to get $15,000 to secure the monies to have the engineering done. Is it worth applying for? I mean, we'll have to dig in a little deeper and see, but This is just an overview of what is needed just to get this first grant. So it'll be a lot of work. And hopefully it would pay off. And then this scope of work, this is what happens after you get this grant, and it is super detailed. I just wanted to put that out there because it's a lot of work. I mean, we are going down the path of a lot of work, but we want to protect our gazebo. So it's a matter of, does this committee want to put in this much time, effort, and work on this grant?
Yeah, I think, Nancy, that the answer is yes, because even in our last two meetings, we were sort of in a discussion where we need immediate protection and beautification, but also at odds with ourselves because we don't know that it's structurally sound. So I think the answer is yes, because we've already come to that point several times in discussions of the gazebo.
Okay. Well, and I'm the research I've done is it's intensive. And because it is on the historic register, and we can move forward, and there's no time, there's no like a deadline on these grants. It's you work on it, you submit it, they get back to you, and so in other words, other grants have deadlines through the year. This is just rolling. There's no set deadlines, which I think is sort of nice. So we can get started on it.
I'll be glad to read it and see what's required,
Perfect.
but I haven't even had a chance to go out and actually look at the structure. I plan on doing that tomorrow.
And I don't think it has to be a super detailed
Hmm.
report on the structure for this grant. It just has to be, why are we wanting to have an assessment done on this structure? And what it means to our community, because this is our brand. I mean, we need to protect this gazebo.
Oh, yeah.
Let
me look at this and see what,
Okay.
and I'll get with you and see what documents we need to submit.
Sounds good. I'll leave it to the experts.
Just to add to what Nancy said, this is actually a specialized area. And there are people that, professionals that do only this for historic societies because it's so intense in the paperwork. There's also another advantage in that the Historical Society knows these people and know that they produce quality, project paperwork, that the packages they submit are quality and accurate. So I've been, I've used them before, and some of them will work contingent on getting the grant. Depends on how hungry they are, but yeah, this will be a lot of work.
Yeah. And our committee's up to it. Because we've got a lot of great minds. And so I think we can do it.
Yeah, I do too, Phil. And Phil, thank you for stepping up. I know as a new committee member, you've been waiting to sink your teeth into something, and this seems like it's in your wheelhouse.
No problem.
But don't feel like you're alone in the burden. Just report back to us at the next PRT meeting, and let us know where we can plug in and help.
Okay.
That's all I got.
All right. I keep I'm gonna scroll back up to the agenda. Nancy, do we have any correspondence?
No one's written me.
I'll say that I had a text message from Nancy, who attended the Stilling Basin Projects meeting, who just had a potential name, which was Memorial Park, and suggested the use of the red choke cherry trees. So I'll send that to you, Nancy, so that can get recorded. And I think it's more appropriate when we talk about that project, once we have the renderings.
Okay,
And then I also had correspondence about the fitness center or the fitness court being extremely hot in the heat of the day through the summer season. With a possible solution and funding to provide that solution, which would be like a temporary sail or shade that would cover the fitness court during the season. So I'll do a little bit of research on that and present it at our next meeting. Does anyone have a report that they did not share today that they would like to share now?
nope.
No, nothing here.
Nothing.
Well, I know it's time for Nancy to have dinner. So I'm going to adjourn our meeting at 6:50.
Wait, Jesse, you said you're gonna do a report on Pool Park proposal. No? When we were talking about the playground and you said I'll do that in reports.
Yes, so
Okay.
so there's a couple of things sort of lining up. One is the request for this shade over the fitness court, which was made by Greenbox, is the one that made that request. I think that we have the opportunity in the funding for the fitness court. There were also some landscaping funds that were pre-approved by Historic Green Mountain Falls Foundation. And so I'm feeling like there are some things teeing up so that we can make a multi-tiered request from them to help with the sunshade, some potential landscape improvements, playground improvement that you're getting a number for me on, Nancy. And this may all, and then most likely also asking them for matching funds to do Stilling Basin Park. And I don't typically like to go to my employer and ask them to fund things, but these are all within their scopes of interest, and they've made an initial ask about the shade. And so if you all agree and want me to look towards that, then that would be my plan.
I think that's a great idea. And, if from the PRT meeting we had with the Stilling Basin and the residents that came, they mentioned, doing some fundraising too. So if the community can show an initiative that they're raising funds for the Stilling Basin, then maybe, approaching Historical Green Mountain Falls with, hey, we've got this much from donations in the community. And then, it looks like we're putting forth the effort of securing some other funds.
Exactly. I think that's an opportunity. Anytime there's matching funds, those seem to be magic words to grant tours.
Mhm. That would be a good step.
So that's my
Okay,
report
now
on
you
that.
can adjourn.
Okay, I'm going to adjourn us at, is it 5:53 there?
Close enough.
Yes, it is.
All right. Bo, thanks for sticking around for the long meeting. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And here I was telling Phil that we don't have 2-hour meetings. And I said, your first meeting was nothing. I mean, we don't have that long meetings. So I lied. Sorry, Phil.
Well, we've become a popular committee because we get our work done.
We get things done.
Yeah, good.
It's a good reputation.
Yes, so we'll have to have some long meetings. And it's already time to like review our annual goals. And I'll try to do that before the next regular meeting, Nancy, and give a report on where we're at.
Okay, Jay, I'll have your copies here at Town Hall. Jesse, you want me to leave your copies at Town Hall too?
No, I won't be back in Green Mountain Falls until after that workshop, so I'll just print them out here.
Uh-oh, I killed some trees then.
It's okay. Jay will use less whiteout if you give him 2 sets.
Well, I'll probably go with I'll be away from town for several days now. So I'll probably be using electronic copies myself.
Well, you have a copy right here in Town Hall.
Okay,
It's margarita time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, guys.
take care, everybody. Sorry.
Thank you, Jesse.